Welcome to How's Your E-Presence? This is Mark Galvin, and that is Eric Welch. We are here today with our news broadcast of How's Your E-Presence, and we are jumping on because there's some interesting things going on in social media. Just a reminder, How's Your E-Presence is hosted, produced by E-Presence. We're a social media agency. Our mission is help people get online, stay online, manage advertising, manage their online presence, help you reach your audience so that you can achieve whatever your mission is. That may be an ROI. Maybe you need a new job. Maybe you're trying to drive your own personal branding. Maybe your organization needs a better way to communicate to your audience online. We help you with all of that. So that said, here's why we're here with you today. It appears that Facebook has officially stepped in it. So we could debate that, I suppose. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is this. Facebook had decided, Mark Zuckerberg, namely, decided that they did not want to pick a side on anything that was happening on their platform. Twitter did. Twitter decided to put flags on President Trump's post that they felt like it violated whatever their guidelines were. They put a flag on it to say, this is another place where you can see more information, or this has been disproven by XYZ. So they didn't say that it was, they did not say that they were the arbiter of truth. They said that these people say that this is the truth. So we thought that was interesting. It was great to see someone try to really check some of the data that's out there on social media. That's one of our challenges today. I think it is absolutely, I think everybody can agree there are things that appear on social media that are inherently untrue that people can believe. So how do you fix that? Recently, we saw that Facebook started to lose revenues. We see large major corporations. If you're interested in them, go search the internet. We're not going to endorse any particular corporation here. But what I do want you to know is that there are large corporations that have decided they're not going to advertise on Facebook anymore. And Facebook starting to see that and realize that may be a problem. And so we saw a recent communication come from Facebook where they said, we are going to start to check. However, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen anything about that. I haven't seen it actually happen. Has it occurred at this point where they've flagged any type of content?
Not that I've seen.
All right. So they say they're going to, but they haven't done it yet. So here's the question that we wanted to pose is, as business people using social media, what do you do? I'm not, what do you do in this case? All right. How can I continue to grow my business? Because that's what you're interested in doing. How can you create more revenues? What do you do because of these problems with Facebook? So we're going to hit 3 areas to give you some guidance there, discuss some things, maybe help you think through some of these. The first one is diversification. What does diversification mean in this case? If you're only advertising on Facebook, shame on you. Don't advertise only in one place. Forget the fact that Facebook may, in fact, cause some problems in this case. But what if they change their algorithm? All of a sudden, boom, you're not reaching as many people. They change the way the advertising component works. If you're only advertising on Facebook, then you're going to see a dip in sales just related to that. What if people decide they don't like Facebook because of the current crisis that's going on, or someone sees something that they don't like and they leave Facebook? We encourage you to do this. Find where your audience is and advertise on those multiple platforms. So, Eric, what are those platforms? What should people consider when they're looking at advertising?
I think the biggest thing is, as you mentioned, you got to diversify where you're spending your money. And obviously Facebook is the big giant that's out there, but there's also Instagram, which is tied to Facebook. You have Twitter, which is still very relevant and popular. LinkedIn is another good option. And I mean, now you got TikTok out there, you've got Snapchat, you've got lots of opportunities and platforms that you can go after. Twitter did take the stand against the spread of fake news and all of that, and that might, if you feel good about that, that might be a direction you want to go. Then again, Twitter isn't for every brand and every business. It's not always the best fit for everything. So you need to understand
Your
and know
audience may
all your
not be there,
platforms. Right,
right?
exactly. So you need
You
to
may
know where
be,
your audience is.
yeah. So, and that's that's the first thing you've got to figure out is where is your audience? Go speak to them. And I will tell you this, your audience is on multiple platforms, right? We haven't mentioned Pinterest. So maybe you need to be on Pinterest. If that's where your audience is, consider where your potential audience may be, then advertise on those separate platforms. Maybe your audience is dominantly, is heavily, there's a large volume of them on Facebook. Great. Spend more money on Facebook if that's where they are. But in this day, you may decide, okay, I need to peel back on Facebook. If you do, where do you advertise? So think about all those things. Look at where your audience is. If you're not sure, go to Pew Research. You can go to the Pew Research and just say social media. They did a poll. The last time I saw that come out was in 2019, but it still is good data to see where your audience is.
Yeah, and it's another part of that is not only know who your audience is know who you want your audience to be, your future audience. If you want
Great point.
if you want to grow your audience, okay, you've got your core group. That's great. You need to understand everything about them. But if you want to expand that audience, what direction are you going to go? Do you want to go younger? Do you want to go older? Is there a geographic location you want to expand into? It's fully understanding who you are and what you want to become.
So important, and do keep in mind we use the word audience all the time. Don't get that confused with a media audience. Your audience are your customers. Your audience are your employees. Your audience could be future employers. However, whoever those folks are that you want to reach, you just need to make sure you're looking out to reach them. Anything else on diversification? Oh, you're on audience. This is good.
Yeah,
good transition.
we did a perfect transition. I'm just keeping up.
So considering your audience is such an important thing. And when you do, how do you communicate with them? Now, I'm going to say something that's maybe considered a little controversial, but I want you to think. President Trump knows who his audience is, and he communicates to that audience. If you know who your audience is, and maybe they're on a platform that may be getting some ridicule, then that is something that you may want to do. You've got to think about, and we're going to get into the future, but you do have to think about what do you do today, and how does that affect you in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Think about where we're going. Think about culturally where we're going. Make sure you don't make a mistake. However, whatever the case is, consider what your audience, how they want to receive a message. How do you communicate with them? And then diversify. Hit them wherever they are. What are your thoughts there, Eric?
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think if you have starting a business, or if you have an existing business and you have a business plan, or you have a marketing plan, and you put that out you plan out for a year or 3 years or 5 years or whatever, you come up with these goals, social media has to be integrated within that plan every step of the way. It can't be something that you just, right, we need to put something on Facebook, just go. We've got this print campaign. Just throw that stuff on Facebook. It doesn't work that way. You have to, and that goes back to knowing your audience, who your audience is, and then who you want your audience to be in that 3-year, 5-year window. So that, it's tough with social media because things are changing so much. You can't make a social media goal for 3 years from now, because who knows what that'll look like. But
good point.
You have to keep social media in top of mind throughout your entire planning process.
So important. There are so many pieces to this. And as you develop your advertising campaigns, make sure that you're not looking to just drop one piece for now. Oh, I really like this. We're doing webinars. So we could advertise webinars, but what we need to do is make sure we're looking at, okay, if we advertise our webinars today, how does that blend into the next campaign, and the next? How do we drive them to the website? And when we get to the website, what do we do? And we need to have multiple steps of driving them through a campaign on the website, so we can convert a person who is maybe the chances of them buying on that first click are 20%. But if we can lead them through a campaign that educates them and helps them and is useful, we got a better chance of converting that 20% option potential client into a 90 to 100%, and maybe they do buy. So do think about all those things. Consider your audience. Your audience needs to be on your forefront. But in today, do think, how do you communicate with that audience? And don't discount that audience. Don't think that they are exclusively going to think like you. They may not. So very important. And I'll give you an example. If you're advertising to an audience that is in a rural environment, then chances are they may not have the same thoughts, believe the same things that you believe if you are in an urban environment. So those are types of things to consider.
Yeah, it's really, and it's becoming a running joke now, but what we talk about in every podcast, webcast that we do is being aware. You have to be aware of your audience. You have to be aware of your messaging and how it's being perceived. And that goes into, some people call it community management, where people are going to have the ability to react. If you watch a commercial on TV, you don't know how people are reacting to that. But if you post something on social media, advertising your company, immediately. Good, bad, otherwise, people are going to let you know what they think, and you have to stay on top of that. And
sometimes that reaction is overtly negative. That's danger.
And you got to be ready for that.
Yeah, I got an example. I had a very astute person in my audience who made a comment to one of my posts this weekend, and I was talking about advertising on Facebook, and his comment was well put. He said, "Are you sure you need to be promoting Facebook right now?" And I said, that's a very good point. Should we be talking about it? But because we work with companies, and if I have a company that comes to me today and says, "Mark, we need to advertise on Facebook," we're going to do it for you if that's the right plan, and we'll work with them and make sure it's the right plan. But if that's what they need to do, great, because my audience is interested in advertising or potentially interested in advertising in Facebook, I need to talk about that. So that's understanding your audience. All right, Eric, now what?
So now what is,
before you get into this, everybody needs to know you came from a PR background.
Yes.
So not only is Eric our director of social media, but he has a strong, robust understanding of public relations. All right. I won't interrupt again, I promise.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Maybe I won't.
That's good. So now what I think is the most important piece of this whole process is, okay, so if you're a company, you don't like what Facebook is doing, you don't like how they've handled things, you're going to boycott them. It could be for like Coke, for example, pause advertising for a month, and other ones have kind of set deadlines, some are indefinitely. That's great, but now what? Now what are they going to do? It's more than just taking away some ads that you have on Facebook. You have to become part of the conversation. You have to become part of the what's going on in the community. And if it's looking internally at how things are structured or how things are built, and you need to make some changes there, then that needs to be addressed, because otherwise it's a PR move, a stunt to say, well, we're going to stop Facebook for a couple weeks and then we'll be back, August 1st and back business as usual. For something that's as important and as crucial as this time is in our history, this is way more than just a PR stunt. So again, going back to having a plan, you did step one. You're gonna pause, boycott, however you want to say it. But now what are you gonna do? There has to be more steps so that when you come back onto Facebook, why did you decide to do that now? And what changes have you made either internally or externally?
I think that we cannot miss how important this moment of our history is. This is going to be something, this is going to be a period, this era, these few months are going to be cited again and again and again. And we've seen it now. Some of the history that has happened in the civil rights movement has popped up on our consciousness over the last couple of weeks, because some of the historians have come up and said, well, this is what happened in the past. This is a major shift, and culturally we are changing. My feeling is that we've got to consider this. You have to consider this as an organization and not ignore what is going on culturally. This is such a change, whether you agree with it or not. And if you do agree with it, you still have to be aware that you don't want to alienate some of your audience that may not fully understand the changes. And that may be an opportunity for you to have a one-on-one conversation with someone. Educating your customers on what's important on history is a danger. And that's why I'm stuttering here. I don't want to educate you guys on what's going on in the history of our country right now. That's dangerous. What I do want to do is make sure you're thinking about it and then making some plans. And it's okay to make a mistake. It is okay to make a mistake and step up and say, hey, we just made a mistake. That's a good PR move. So the important thing is to listen and respond as best as you can, because there's a lot of mistakes going on, right? There was a couple in St. Louis who were on their lawn yesterday with guns. Do you think that was a mistake? Well, you could argue that was not a mistake because they were guarding their home. Well, I have a feeling, because he's a lawyer, when he sees his number of cases go down, he may think that was a mistake. So those are the type of things that, yes, you should make some decisions that are worthwhile, but maybe if that's your feeling, you hedge. Like, for example, this guy's got his gun. Instead of taking the gun and putting it on his shoulder and walking outside, maybe he has it on the inside of his house, right? If he's that worried and he goes out and he stands and he watches people and says, please move on. Don't touch my home. Fine. That's good. But those pictures, and I will tell you, Eric, I have seen those pictures all over the internet of this man standing out in front with an assault rifle and his wife with a gun, that and brandishing it. That is probably not a good PR move, even though they felt like they needed to defend their property.
Yeah, that was a poor decision,
right
on their part. I mean, I don't know the background on that couple. I don't know the whole story. I only know from the videos that we saw, and not a good look for them.
Yeah, well, he's an injury attorney, basically.
Right.
So that's his gig. I look at that and I think, okay. Now I would tell you, I understand wanting to defend your home. I absolutely get that. 100%. I get it. Maybe that was in the moment. And I don't know this for a fact. This is purely conjecture, but it was a Sunday night. They might have been a couple of cocktails into their Sunday evening when this all came about. So they may not have been thinking clearly, but whatever the case is, that was a bad move.
Yep. Yeah.
That was a bad move.
Stay inside.
Right. Well, good. Eric, and I do this to you all the time. Final thoughts. Any wrap up here?
And I do this all the time. Be aware. I can't stress how important that is all the way around. Social media is such an important part, and it can be such a positive thing for a business or an individual. And it's about making connections with your audience and understanding them and communicating and talking and having open dialogue. And it's not a one-way street, because they're always going to come, they being the audience is always going to come back at you with either positivity, negativity, or nonsense. So
that's right.
You need to be ready and prepared for all of that. And don't think of social media as an afterthought of just like an extra bonus to your usual advertising, traditional marketing.
Yep. I tell you to engage, folks. Be ready to engage and know that the person you're engaging with is not your only audience. It's everybody else that's going to read that engagement. So think that through and make sure, if you're the one engaging, that you're keeping that in mind. If you're not the one that's doing the engagement, make sure the person that has a PR mind that is thinking outside the box, not just exactly at that particular moment.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get caught up in your business world or your bubble of your community, or just get caught up in the day-to-day non-social media, non-marketing stuff, just the business and making money and getting new clients or new customers or whatever the case may be, that just you can't let the stuff slip away from you, because it'll spiral out of control and then you'll be in trouble.
Well, and you're going to lose money, right? You're going to lose clients. You're going to lose customers. You're going to lose opportunities to get that new job. So keep all those things in mind. Our goal here is to try to bubble this type of info up for you guys so that you know these are important things that you should consider. So we're at 20 minutes now. I see that on the ticker. We need to wrap up. Eric, this has been a great conversation. We'll post this everywhere. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on there. Hit that button there. So if you're watching this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. There it is. Please subscribe down there to our YouTube channel. We're constantly sharing new content. If you're subscribing, you'll get a notification that we are live. We have great customers, guests that are coming up that you don't want to miss any of those. So join us soon and see some of the other great content that we're sharing. By the way, I check out the last show with Merrick Rosenberg. Unbelievable, great information. So go check that out. All right, Eric, we're ready to go. What do we do next?
I click on this. Ready?
Peace.
Bye.